Welcome back, Katja. Baruch Hashem.
Test, test. Yes, there we go. Test, test, test.
Test, test, test. Shabbat Shalom, George. Good to see you again. I'm well, thank you.
Good Shabbos.
Oh, thank you. Watch your head now. Watch your head now. Oh, can you get back up? The getting down is okay. It's the getting back up. That's the problem. All right? Oh, my goodness. Time to roll. All right, until a little while from now. Shabbat Shalom, Bob. Nice to see you. A little recognition.
Thanks for coming, everyone, even in the middle of the rain.
Shabbat Shalom, Neil.
Shabbos, Neil.
As you should. The old days, the rabbi would stand by the door and greet everybody as they came in. In the old days.
What old days? I don't remember that.
Absolutely.
Well, hello and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
It is nice to be with you on this lovely, rainy Florida Shabbat morning.
It's nice to be with you too.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's another thing they teach you in teacher school. Wait for them to say
Wait
hello
for the
back,
response.
right?
Yeah, that's good wait time. That's
Give
nice.
everybody a
That's
chance.
true. I'm happy to be back. I was faculty at URJ Camp Coleman for the last week or so that was really nice. And I'm exhausted, but very happy because it was a wonderful experience. I just need a nap. Camp, if you ever have worked in the overnight camping world, you know, the days begin at 7 and then they end at whenever. So they're
The
long
last
days.
camper turns the light out.
Right, but it was really wonderful. So we're gonna begin our Shabbat service. I hope you had a lovely start to Shabbat last night, and like I said, thrilled to be together. Those of you on our live stream, hello. I'm
Hello.
pretty sure it's working. It seemed to be. So hope that you are watching. If you're new to the live stream, cbiboca.org. Top left corner says menu. Hit menu, then hit services, and then scroll down a little bit. You'll see a lovely picture of the Regal Hops. And then just below there, a picture of Cantor Muchnick, and next to Cantor Muchnick, who'll be back next week, I think. There's a button for our virtual prayer book, and you can pray along with us throughout our service. We are going to begin with Modani. You want to do Modani?
Certainly.
All right, page 170.
Modani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam shecher zarta binishmati nishmati bechemla, bechemla, Rabba emunatecha, moteana lefanayich, melechai v'kayam, shechezarta binishmati bechemla, bechemla, Rabba emunatech, Rabba emunatech, Rabba emunatecha.
Our Nisim B'chol Yom, our daily blessings and miracles, 175.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lasakvi v'naha lahavchin bein yom uvein laila.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam roka aretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaver.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten layaev koach.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir sheinai me'enai utnuma me'afapai.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tzelem Elohim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani bat chorim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael bigvura.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara.
Amen.
Our uplifting section of Psalms, Psukei de Zimra, 183.
Baruch Shemar v'haya ha'olam.
Baruch Hu,
Baruch Osev Reshit.
Baruch Omer ve'oseh,
Baruch Gozer Mekayim.
Baruch merachem al haaretz,
Baruch Merachem al habriot.
Baruch meshalem sacher tov lireyav,
Baruch Chayla ad v'kayim lanetzach.
Baruch podeh umatzil, Baruch Shemo.
Blessed is the one who spoke and the world came to be.
Blessed is the one,
Blessed is the one who continually authors creation.
blessed is the one whose word is deed,
Blessed is the one who decrees and fulfills.
blessed is the one who is compassionate towards the world,
Blessed is the one who is compassionate towards all creatures.
blessed is the one whose words are reverent,
Blessed is the one who exists for all time, ever enduring.
blessed is the one who redeems and saves, blessed is God's name.
With songs of praise we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty, for you are the source of life in the universe, one God, life of the universe, praised and glorious ruler, your name is eternal. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mehulal b'tishbachot.
You feeling a little smiler?
Oh,
All right.
definitely.
Excellent. Top of page 185.
Ashrei yoshvei veitecha, oje halelucha sela. Ashrei yoshvei veitecha, oje halelucha sela. Ashrei, ashrei, ashrei yoshvei veitecha. Ashrei, ashrei, ashrei yoshvei veitecha. Happy are dwell in your house, they will sing your praises forever. Happy are those who dwell in your house, they will sing your praises forever. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, Oje Halelucha Selah. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, Oje Halelucha Selah.
We continue now in the middle of page 192 with Shochen Ad.
Shochen ad maharom v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv raninu tzadikim badonai laisharim nevatahila b'fi yesharim tithalal uv'divrei tzadikim titbarach uv'ilshon chasidim titromam uv'kerev kedoshim titkadash ובמחלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל רינה יתפאר שמך מלכנו בכל דור ודור ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ ברוך אתה אדוני אל מלך גדול בתשבחות אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות הבוחר בשירי זמרה מלך מלכי העולמים.
Chatzi Kaddish 194.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
ויעלמה דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחיי חום וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשו ברכו לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דוד רן בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
We continue with the Baruch Hu, our call to worship 195. Together we stand.
La 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 Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed La 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 Ya la 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 Ya la la ya la 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 la
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer ov v'choshech oseh shalom uvoreh et hakol. Please be seated. We continue with Ahava Rabbah on page 198.
Ahava Rabbah ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu Chem lagidol rat v'tera Chamalta aleinu Ba'avor avoteinu Ve'imotenu Shebatchu v'cha V'tamdem chukei chayim והערננו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה ויראה את שמך, ולא נבוש ולא ניכלם ולא ניכשל לעולם ועד, ולא נבוש ולא ניכלם ולא ניכשל לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
202.
ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית וריתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem, Emet. We continue with our song of redemption, Mi Chamocha, 204.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh norah tilot osef eleh norah tilot osef eleh mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh Adonai yimloch leolam vaed. Adonai yimloch leolam vaed.
We continue with the, oh, you want to do tour? Okay, we're going to do tour. Tour Israel, bottom of the page, 204.
Sur Yisrael, Kuma ba'ezrat Yisrael, Uftechinu mecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael. Go aleinu, Adonai tzivaot shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
Continue with the Amidah, 205.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufiya gita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Le'ma'an Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Tzara Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Sohomech noflim verofech cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'al gevurot umido melach melech memid umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol.
Kedusha 208.
Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, Keshem shemakdishim oto bishmei marom, Kakatuv al yad neviecha, V'kadra zel zeh ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzivaot, Meloch ol haaretz, Kevodo. Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Ma'adir, Shimcha bechol haaretz, Baruch kevod Adonai, Mimkomo, Echad hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Vehu Yashmienu, Berachamav le'nei kol chai, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohai Yiktzion, Ledor vador, Hallelujah, Ledor vador, Ledor vador, Ledor vador, Nagid God lecha, Ledor vador, Ledor vador nagid God lecha, ulenetzach nitzachim, kedushatcha nakdish, veshivchacha Eloheinu, mipinu lo yamush leolam vaed, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
We continue silently now, here beginning on page 210 through page 219. When you're finished, please be seated.
Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, say shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen.
As we transition our thoughts and words of peace on this Shabbat slowly into the words of Torah, in this little gap here for us this morning. Just want us to think about, and I don't know if you've been keeping track of what's going on, but there are rockets falling on Israel as we speak that Hamas has launched in the last 15 hours or so, more than 100 rockets onto the vicinity around Sderot. And I'm sorry if you have seen me touch my watch throughout the service, but I have an app that unfortunately shows every time there is a rocket that falls in Israel, and it's my wrist keeps buzzing over and over. So even throughout our service, the rockets are falling, and so even though we're all the way in Boca this morning, in between the space of peace and the space of Torah, in the space of Shabbat for all of us, I hope in this transition and for these days we will send our hope and our love and our thoughts to Israel and to the residents that have to be living in their bomb shelters for the next however many days until the shelling stops from Hamas. So I just want us to keep that in mind as we transition from in peace to Torah. Yes?
Even worse today, Rabbi, with Shabbat.
Exactly. Yes. So I don't think it's a mistake, by the way, on the timing. I don't think it's a mistake on the timing for Hamas to choose to be launching the rockets, which they timed beautifully at the beginning of Shabbat, into Shabbat, and exactly into Tisha B'Av, into the 9th of Av. So in these days when we are, if we are going to engage in any fasting or just reflection, which we'll talk about actually in a few minutes, of course, I hope our thoughts and our prayers and our emotions and our hearts are filled to connect with those in Israel who are probably not having a peaceful Shabbat because they're unable to, with the sounds of blaring sirens, for them to continue to go into their bomb shelters. So with that, and for us, we have the opportunity to do this peacefully, and for us to be here in our space, in our chapel. But as we make this transition from our words of peace, beautifully sung by Robin, thank you, into the words of Torah, we continue now, Seder Kriyat HaTorah, which can be found on page 244.
Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kema'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha bechol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch leolam vahed. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Av harachamim, heitiva vertzoncha et Zion. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim, Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Ki v'cha levad batachnu, melech el ram v'nisa, Adon olamim.
246.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Udevar Adonai mirushalayim.
248.
Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadlu l'Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav.
Please be seated. Okay, friends, we are amidst our Torah service, and so let's study a little Torah this morning. Why not? Makes sense. We're here. It's Shabbat. It's very easy to find this week's Torah portion. It is the Torah portion of Dvarim, or Deuteronomy. It is the first Torah portion in the Book of Deuteronomy. So all you have to do is find Deuteronomy, and you're there. Now again, you can start at Genesis and go through the entire book if you'd like to go to the end. Or go to the end of the book and then flip backwards. But it is Deuteronomy 1:1 is where we are. Easy to find. Deuteronomy 1:1 is where we are on this wonderful and fine Shabbat. Hello, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom. Everyone getting to the spot there? Deuteronomy 1:1. It's the beginning of Deuteronomy. It's just Deuteronomy 1:1. It's not hard to find. Deuteronomy 1:1. I will make you turn pages in a second, though, but not yet. We're not on Deuteronomy 1:1. We good? We there? We close? In the vicinity? All right. Let's do our blessing in the meantime. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. All right. So here we are at the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy. It is a 37-day-long speech from Moses. It begins now, and the entirety of the book is him speaking. And it's a reflection. Actually, he's reflecting on Exodus, on Leviticus, and Numbers. And then, so essentially, the Torah essentially ends in Numbers, because Deuteronomy, even though there's a whole other book, is just Moses's recap. And what we'll see is sometimes his view doesn't match up necessarily with what has been said in the other parts of the Torah. So that of course gives birth to the concept of multiple authors. What? Blasphemy. But except for the Reform movement, it's perfectly fine with that. That there are different authors, or it's Moses speaking. So Moses is going to have a different recollection of how maybe it went, because if we all saw the same scenario and we all interviewed differently, I bet each of us would have a different view on. Right, I did that activity. We did that activity in middle school or high school, where someone kind of runs in the room for a second, and then they run out, and the activity is to describe what they look like, what they were wearing, how fast they were going, right? There's activities, and everyone's like, they were wearing brown shirt. No, it was a green shirt. No, there was a blue shirt, right? And so it's possible that Moses simply has a different view of things. So, or Moses wants to rewrite the history a little bit also, because there are certain parts where he gets upset. For instance, when he finds out he can't come in the land. and he says in the Torah, it's because of you people that I can't come in the land. So there are these different sections of the discrepancies that we find. Not happy with my placement of my microphone. All right, so that's the sort of quick overview. So we're going to read a little bit of Torah, a smidge of Torah, and then we're going to actually change directions a little bit today. So anyone already have any questions in the room? No? How many people in the room? Who's in there?
Gail is here, Marsha is here, Sandy is here, Sherry is here, Ian is here, and Howard is here.
Great. Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, great. All right, good. I love this owl thing. It's so fun. We can actually communicate with them in the room. I loved it. I love this thing. Yeah, owl. Woo-hoo. I wish it hooted. It hoots when you turn it on. Yeah, it hoots. I'm sorry you missed the hooting. It's like the best part. Maybe we should turn the whole thing off, and we'll start again. Do you want to start? Do you want to start at? Let's start back at like Modéani. We'll do the whole service again, and then we'll get back to the owl. Do you want to do that? We're going to do Smilo? All right. Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. Fine. All right. Let's start, please, if you don't mind. Ooh, we got your shades on today. But now you're not even cooler. So, all right, I love it. Not that you've been cool now before, but now even cooler. So I love it. Nice.
These are the words that Moses addressed to all Israel on the other side of the Jordan, through the wilderness in the Arabah near Suf, between Paran and Tophel, Laban, Azroth, and Zohar. It is 11 days from Horeb to Kadesh Barnea by the Mount Seir. It was in the 40th year, on the first day of the 11th month, that Moses addressed the Israelites in accordance with the instructions that the Eternal had given him for them, after he had defeated Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and king of Bashan, who dwelt at Ashtaroth and Edrei. On the other side of the Jordan, in the land of Moab, Moses undertook to expound this teaching. He said,
Okay, perfect. First of all, well done. That was a tough one. So thank you for reading that. There's a lot of fun words. So where are they? Where are the Israelites? Just there. I mean, they can taste it. It is right there. How do you know they're right there?
Yes, sir.
It says so. Right, excellent. It says so. So how many years did the Israelites wander in the desert? 40. 40. How many years is this? Exactly. So it is there. It's the end. It is the end of the end of the end. Yes. So it is at the end of the time there. Moses also knows that the moment he really stops speaking, that he dies because he's 120 years old. And right, that's the term that we use. How many people have signed like a card like, you should live till 120 or right? So I think I always mention this. The phrase is you should live till 120 because that's like Moses. The Israelis are very clever. And so not only do they say you should live till 120, but often they also say you should live till 100 like you're 20. So they also sign their cards that way because they're very clever like that. Because you can play with the Hebrew. There's like one little switch in the Hebrew, so they can switch that. Okay, so it's the end of the end of the end. The Israelites are at the cusp. They can taste the promised land. They're actually, it says in verse 5, right on the other side of the Jordan, in the land of Moab, right? So they're on the other side of the Jordan, which means they're actually like they're footsteps. They're footsteps from the promised land. They're right there. And so in this fun reading that Linda read for us, there's all these little fun words which we'll talk about after Jay. Yes, Jay.
I'm curious about in verse 4, it says, after he defeated various different kings. So, are we to understand that Moses was the leader of the forces that defeated?
Yes. That right because it's him talking, right? And so to say that when he, meaning with everyone, defeated all of these different peoples that brought them to that point, which is what he'll be doing throughout Deuteronomy, using a lot of the I statements to claim some of the responsibilities and things that maybe he did do or didn't do or had assistance for, but he takes the liberty of saying it because it's Moses and he's saying it. So, and he's the leader. That's true. Never. You never hear that. Yeah, you never hear that. Politics are just so clean and easy usually. So, all right. So just very quickly, the rabbis, mostly Rashi actually, you know Rashi, the greatest commentator of all time. So Rashi actually looks at all these fun words from verse 1 through verse 5 that we made Linda break her teeth on, that they actually don't exist. So if you look at this, it says, right, through the wilderness of the Arava, near Suf, between Paran and Tophel, that a lot of these places actually aren't locations, that they're not places. They were incidents. So that's what Rashi says. It looks like, so they were places of incident, not necessarily geographic locations. Yes? Well, thank you for that excellent question. I'm happy to tell you what those incidents were. Here I am with my notes ready to go. All right, so great question. It's like we set that up. Ron, little Ron, Ronnie, Ron. It's good. We had the whole thing set up. It's good. So you get an extra cookie on the way out. Okay. All right. Yeah. See, Marsha's excited about the cookie. I'm excited about cookies. I'm motivated by cookies. All right. So here it says, if you look at the 17:3, it says. No, that's not it. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So it refers to if you see. I'll tell you why I have 17:3 here. So it says through the wilderness. Does yours say wilderness or desert? When it says verse 1, it says God spoke to just the people. It says wilderness. Okay. So wilderness is believed to reflect Exodus 17:3. That's why I said 17:3. You can check it if you want to or not. You can just trust me. But it says 17:3, and that is one of the first gripes the Israelites make, and say, if only we had died in Egypt, why did you take us into the wilderness? Right? So all the wilderness times when there was no food and there was no water, the Israelites were whining. So the wilderness refers to actually the beginning of the whining. Okay. Next, if you see it says in the Arava, right after that, it says through the wilderness in the Arava, or yours says Araba. Does it say Araba? Yeah. So in the Hebrew it says Arava. So in the Arava, it actually refers to the Arava plain, which is actually from the conversation we had about the talking donkey, right? And how the Israelites worshipped Baal Peor, that other god. So it happened in that spot. So it's a reminder of that spot. If you keep going, it says Suf, right? It says Suf in your text, right? So Suf or Yam Suf can be known as the Red Sea. And there's a section right after the Red Sea where we have this, when the sea parts, right? And it's this great moment, yay, the sea parts, and Miriam's there, and the dancing with the timbrels, and it's really wonderful and fabulous, and everything's great. What's the first thing that happens the second that they get past that area? Right, the water's closed, and then what happens in the text? Right, Egyptians drown. That whole section is finished. What's that next section?
War.
What's that?
They're going to war with the Amorites.
Oh no, the Amorites are a little bit late. Are a little bit later. I'm saying right after the sea closes in the book of Exodus. What do the Israelites do? After that, immediately after that, they say, "There's no water. We're thirsty. We're complaining." It's the first rock incident. The first rock incident. So so Moses is reminding them of them. Then we get to Paran. You see the word Paran in your text. So Paran, by the way, is an actual vicinity, and it is where the Israelites met in Shlach Lecha, and where they decide to send the spies. And when the spies come back, and only 2 of them give a positive look, and the other 10 of them give a negative look on what's going to be in the Promised Land. That's also where the Israelites find out they're going to wander for 40 years, because that's only 2 years at that spot. But when they come back with the bad scouts, and the scouts come back and speak badly of what the land looks like, they get another 38 years. Yes.
Okay, that's where I was.
Yes.
I thought it was another 40 years from then.
No. It's only 2 years. So hypothetically, had the spy situation not happened, perhaps the idea of the 40 years would never have occurred. But because they come back with the bad information from the spying, that's the situation. Okay, that's Paran. Then we go to Tophel. You see Tophel in Lavan, right? In our text, Tophel and Lavan. That has to do with the manna. You know what manna is? Manna is the food that fell, right? The Israelites ate. It was probably white. That's why it says Lavan. Lavan means white. And although people were sustained on that food for the whole time in the desert, but they complained about it. Oh my gosh, they have to eat the same thing every day, all day. They're complaining, and then it goes on to say Hatzerot, right? You see Hatzerot there. Hatzerot is the location most likely where Korach attempts to mutiny against the Israelites, and there are a bunch of Israelites that go along with Korach, and they actually, right? They all die and they're swallowed by the earth, right? And then what's Di Zahav? What's Zahav in Hebrew? Anyone know what Zahav means in Hebrew? That's Ahava. Close. What's Zahav mean? It means, I'll tell you, it's a give it away. You ready? Zahav means gold. The calf, yes. The golden calf. Jay, did you say that? That is why you're headed to rabbinic school. Great. Excellent. So all that whole opening, we haven't really had a chance to make fun of Ian recently about HUC, but he can hear us, so that's good. Okay, so
Don't worry, Rabbi.
oh, did Rabbi Khan do it? Excellent. Good. I'm good. She's only here for like a little over a month, and she's already doing it. I love that. Excellent. Yes. Oh no, yes, we're all meaning it. We're not making fun. We're meaning it. We're meaning that both of them are going to go room together and spend time in Jerusalem. It's really happening. Yes.
So it bothers me that this is, I'm correct that this is not in chronological order.
No, it's not in chronological. Yes, it is not in anywhere. Right. So neither is the Torah. I mean, the Torah seems to be in chronological order, but it's not. Right. We always talk about this that Jewish text is not linear. Right. Jewish text doesn't function this way. It's not historical. Jewish text is not. It's not a historical document. This is not a historical document. The Bible is not a historical document. Is the Zohar a historical document? I mean, yeah. I mean, it's no. I would say no. I would say it's not also a chronological. It's not a chronological system. I would say it's even less of a chronological system. Yeah. So we don't like chronological systems. If you want to try and make a chronological system out of our text, actually the Christians are very good at trying to date things much better than the Jewish people are. For us, we're more like, it doesn't matter. Does it really matter when it was? I mean, does it really matter? Does it matter what's second or third or fourth? It's just not really. So, but in that conversation, which is also why. But by the way, it's interesting to have Christian colleagues and for be able to talk about these things. And if you ever have a chance to have those dialogues, it's really great because looking at a piece of text is very different for looking at the same piece of text for someone Jewish is maybe or more about the story, the moral, the connection, how it connects to us where it sits in our year long, like where it sits. But sometimes if you're speaking to someone who's looking at the text from a Christian lens, it's more about when and how and who and when it happened and how it connects to a previous incident. So, okay. So, I wanted us to have a little bit of a taste of the beginning of Dvarim, the beginning of the Torah portion, and Deuteronomy now starts to explain a little bit of the bits of what happens throughout the journey. Now that we have that in our pockets, I want us to change gear a little bit. Before that, yes? Yes.
So a lot of times I get confused with maps and where when you start naming them.
Yes.
So I'm not going to mention a page number.
No, you can. Go ahead.
Okay. So on page 1158, there's a map, and I'm kind of like following the trail of what you're saying.
Yes.
With the scale, like 40 miles, and you see actually how far they travel to all these different places.
Yeah.
I'm trying to follow with you, and I think that helps a lot.
Oh, good. Okay. Great. Excellent. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Good. Thank you. That was a good mention of page numbers. Thank you very much. Thank you, Neil. That's very good. Yes. Excellent. Excellent. So now that you're comfy in those page numbers, I actually would like for you to just keep flipping you're still within Deuteronomy. So you're still in the Torah portion. I just want you to flip to the Haftorah. So I want you to just keep flipping. It's maybe 5 or 6 pages. Just keep flipping till you find the Haftorah for the same Torah portion. Just keep flipping. You have to go through some gleanings. It says gleanings or something, and then you should have the Haftarah there. I'll even accept the page. Anyone find the page for the Haftorah?
1180, I think. Isaiah?
Isaiah, yeah, Isaiah 1. Yeah, so it's 1180. 1180 in your book. Isaiah 1, 1180. All right, so Ian, this one's for you. If you don't mind, you're welcome. So, I know. So Isaiah 1 is the Torah portion that matches up with, Isaiah 1 is the Haftarah that matches up with this week's Torah portion. So this week's Torah portion matches up with something called Shabbat Chazon. So which means vision. So this Shabbat is actually called Shabbat Chazon. It is the Shabbat that precedes the 9th of Av, because it is the vision that Isaiah sees that then determines, because what happens on the 9th of Av? The temple falls. Yes, thank you. So which temple? Both of them. Yes, both temples actually fall on the 9th of Av. One in 586 CE. Who destroys that one? Babylonians. Yes. And then the second one is destroyed in 70 CE by the Romans. Excellent. Yes. So it's also believed. What's that? Yeah. Good. Excellent. So, who was the one who destroyed the first temple? What was his name? Nebuchadnezzar. Yes. You guys are killing it back there. Yes. Nebuchadnezzar. By the way, if you have not or seen the movie The Matrix, you should see the movie The Matrix with Keanu Reeves, because it is all about this interesting period and these texts, because the name of the ship is called the Nebuchadnezzar in the main ship, and so it was all about the religious period. So if you have seen The Matrix, go back and see it, the first one. If you have not seen the movie The Matrix, you're going to look at me and think, what was the rabbi talking about? Because it doesn't seem like it's religious. It's all about lots of shooting and lots of bullets, but it is actually very religious. There's a very religious undertone to the movie The Matrix, and it connects very much to this these texts in the book of Isaiah. So yes, if you want to post Shabbat, if you want something to watch, The Matrix. It's on HBO Max, so you can watch it. All of them are on HBO Max. There's a second one and a third one, and they get more confusing after the first one. The first one is much clearer. Anyway, so what do prophets do? What's the job of prophets? They foresee. They prophesize, right? And who do they get their power from? God, right? So which is why we're also taught to avoid false prophets, because we have to be able to decipher someone who we might follow, who is leading us down the wrong path, versus someone who we might trust. Because, by the way, if someone comes up to you and says, hey, God just spoke to me, and I had a vision, and my vision is this, what's our first reaction? Yes, call 911, exactly. Run away, call 911, say, great, have a great day. Drive away. Yes, right? So, however, this is what the job of the prophets were. And that's why the job of the prophets, although they seem fabulous and wonderful, and how it would have been so lovely to be a prophet, so difficult, because their job is to convince us of the wrong paths that we're taking. And no one wants to hear that in your life. No one wants to hear from someone what you're doing is wrong, or what you're doing isn't valued enough, or what you're not giving enough tzedakah. Like, beautiful house, but I mean, did you have to get this big of a house? I mean, couldn't you have given more money to tzedakah? You don't want that person in your house. That's not, you don't want that person at your dinner party when they show up and they're like, oh my God, it's a beautiful house, love your food. Did you ever think about giving more money to charity, tzedakah, to the fine clothes you wear, the nice car you buy, right? That's difficult to hear someone say that to you over and over again, but this is what Isaiah's job was. So here comes what's called the 3 weeks. So tomorrow ends the period of 3 weeks from when Nebuchadnezzar starts to enter the area and breaches the walls of the old city. And so for 3 weeks, we read different pieces of text. These past 3 weeks have been in the 3 weeks from the date of the breach of the wall, and it ends on the 9th of Av, which is really today. The 9th of Av is today, but you can't fast today because it's Shabbat. So actually, the 9th of Av starts tonight. So if you wish to fast, it is a full fast day, not a half fast day. It is like Yom Kippur. So it is a sundown to sundown fast day. And it begins tonight and goes until tomorrow night at sundown. And it is the saddest day of the Jewish people, because the first temple falls on the 9th of Av, the second temple falls on the 9th of Av. It's believed that, particularly if on the afternoon of Yom Kippur, if you join us for services in the afternoon of Yom Kippur, we read about these 10 martyrs who the Romans all murdered, essentially, and it talks about how they were martyred, and it's believed that they were martyred on the 9th of Av, that it also falls on the 9th of Av, that these famous rabbis were flayed by the Romans. You know what flayed means? Yeah, they were skinned. They were skinned by the Romans. And it happened, believe it, on the 9th of Av. So lots of, if you are more traditional, by the way, the more orthodox you are, or the more Kabbalistic you are, the more views you have on these, one can claim that many other things have happened on the 9th of Av. There might have been there's some connections to Nazism on the 9th of Av. There's if you go down that path and you wish to go down that path. Presumably, though, First Temple, Second Temple fall on the 9th of Av. And it's not a big reform a big reform movement conversation because we don't often lament at the level of other movements do on the 9th of Av, but it is something for us to be thinking about. Yes.
Some folks think and feel that the 9th of Av, Shabbat, is a day to skip over. Bad things could happen. Bad things have happened.
Yes. Yeah, it's a very complicated day. A very, very, very traditional Jew will almost act like they're in Shiva. They will sit on the ground. They might cover their mirrors. They're certainly fasting. We read the Book of Lamentations, right? That's where the whole idea of lamenting comes from. You're supposed to sit and reflect and be sad and reflect on the loss of Jerusalem. Oh, see. So, and then there are of course the personal occurrences that make the day even more complicated and more difficult. So the prophecy that we get, though, yes.
So this morning when we started our service, and we mentioned that Hamas most likely chose Tisha B'Av to bomb Israel. Do you think that the Romans were aware of the fall of the first temple and they chose to destroy the second?
I believe so. Yes, I believe so. I believe, unfortunately, the enemies of the Jewish people are very aware of our rituals and practices and have no problem to perpetuate their misdeeds against us on these days. So yes, Yom Kippur War is an example, right? Of pick the day when everyone's fasting on one of the holiest days, and exactly. So but the prophecy that is connected is Isaiah. So let's just read a little bit of Isaiah on this morning. So if you don't mind, okay, please.
Vision of Isaiah, son of Amoz, that he beheld concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Hear, O heavens, and listen, O earth, for the Eternal has spoken. I reared children and brought them up, and they have rebelled against me. The ox knows its owner, and the ass its master's stall. But Israel does not know. My people does not consider. Ah, sinful nation, people weighed down by iniquity, brood of evildoers, destructive children who have forsaken the Eternal, despised the Holy One of Israel, estranged themselves from God. Why invite yet more beatings that you continue your rebellion? The whole head is sick, the whole heart is ill. From head to foot, nothing is sound. Injuries, bruises, fresh wounds, not dressed nor bound nor softened with oil. Your land is desolate, your cities burned down. Strangers consume your land before your eyes. It is desolation like Sodom overthrown. Only fair Zion is left. She is like a booth in a vineyard, like a hut in a cucumber field, like a city under siege. Had not the God of heaven's hosts left us a remnant, we should have already been like Sodom. We should have seen like Gomorrah.
Okay. How's Isaiah doing? How does Isaiah open up? This is the beginning of the book of Isaiah, right? This is one of the, right, we are in the book of prophets, right? So, and there are major prophets and there are minor prophets, right? And so I would say Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel are the big three. And so how does Isaiah begin his prophecy?
He's not happy.
He's not happy. Why isn't he happy? How is the unhappiness portrayed? What does he say? What's clear? What makes it clear he is unhappy? Yes. What does he say we are? Yeah. Rebellious. Yeah. And we're responsible for it. Why are we responsible for it? Because we've forsaken the eternal. Exactly. Exactly. Because we have... Yeah? Alonita, what were you going to say? No? No, you were saying something. You were thinking something and your lips were moving. No? Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Ian, yeah. Well, this is Ian's favorite vicinity here. He loves Isaiah.
Isaiah's my guy.
Yeah.
So I love like sort of imagining this in like a picture right now of this is the beginning of a siege, right? This is the Holy Land under siege. They cannot leave. They cannot go to their fields to get food. They're scared. They're wondering what's going on. Why would God let this happen to us? We were told this land would be ours, and here is this guy standing on a wooden box, let's say, and is screaming at them. That imagery of you reap what you sow. Here it comes. You thought that you could get away with all of these terrible things. Well, here we go. And I just like that imagery, I guess. Well, I don't like the imagery, but it's interesting.
No, yes, right. There's nothing happy about it to like, but I think you said it beautifully. That it's that the imagery of the anger and the frustration and the one of the things that I least like is when I know I make a mistake, and then you're reminded of it over and over and over again, right? Because we make mistakes. But when someone tells you, if you would have done it this way, if you would have done it that way, you would have done this way, over and over and over again, that's even worse. It's keeping you pour the lemon juice on that wound over and over and over again. You keep saying to yourself, I know I made this mistake. Why do you keep reminding me over and over again? But it's almost that Isaiah is saying, like, and he's in it too, because he's amidst this, right? He's seeing what's going on, and he's saying, what have you done? Like, what have we done? What have we done that we've come to this spot that now the Babylonians are here, right? They're destroying our holiness, right? So there is this, yeah. Gail, please. No?
Sorry.
Oh, no, okay.
Thank
All right.
my hand just,
Okay, great, okay. All right, no problem. Okay. So who are we compared to, right? So at the last section that we just read, yeah, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, right? What happened to them? Whoop! That was destroyed. So that city was destroyed, right? So how horrible that we're compared to the city that was destroyed, that destroyed itself, essentially, right? There's this, and there's another layer to this. There's a horrible story about these two people named Kamsa and Bar Kamsa, and that they were these two friends who then became enemies. And I'll summarize it very quickly, in that they wouldn't invite each other to each other's parties, and they got further and further and further apart. And it's believed that there are some of the stories that say that it's because of their infighting that the temple actually fell, because the infighting came from within, that the Jews started to infight. They were fighting with each other. It actually, and because they were so weakened internally, there was nothing they could do against Nebuchadnezzar. And the temple actually falls, not necessarily from, this is the second temple, from from the Romans outside, but actually from their own internal turmoil of their internal hate. So there's this whole mix of Isaiah in here echoing over and over again, like, you're messing this up. It's your fault. Why are you doing this? Which, like I said, no one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear over and over again, you did something wrong, you did something wrong, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. It brings us no joy to hear that, right? So, okay, let's do a little more. There's more in your section, right? Is there a little more in your section? Okay, if you don't mind. I think we're on 10. Yeah.
Hear the word of the Eternal, you rulers of Sodom. Listen to the teaching of our God, you people of Gomorrah. What are your many sacrifices to me, says the Eternal One? I am sated with the rams you bring as burnt offerings, with the fat of your fine animals. I take no delight in the blood of bulls or lambs or goats. When you come to seek my presence, who asked this of you, to trample my courts?
Okay. So what is that? What is that? What is that section? What is that? What is that section about?
He's saying, why are you bringing these sacrifices?
Yes.
And yet he commanded us.
Yes. So God says at the beginning of Leviticus, actually we're already somewhere in the book of Exodus, right? That we're supposed to be doing, we're supposed to sacrifice. Yes, Jay? Yes, excellent. That what is Isaiah saying? That there's no kavanah, there is no intent in your sacrifice. You're merely bringing a goat and throwing it on the altar. You're merely going through the motions. Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering, is this the time of the Pharisees yet, or no?
No, the Pharisees are the Pharisees are going to be the second temple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's like a link there between like core corruption and all that.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Right. And by the way, I think it works in all of this, because there is this core corruption, right? There is this going through the motions just to do it, right? There's this right. We don't sacrifice anymore, right? No one's doing that anymore, right?
Because we can't.
Well, because there are no altars, exactly. Also, that'd be super weird if you were doing that. Wouldn't they're super weird if we had like, although tasty, we'd have a lot of barbecue around us all the time. That's true. We don't sacrifice anymore. What's taken the place in modern Judaism for sacrifice? Services. So what's the saying? What's the saying similarly to services?
Prayer.
Well, yes, exactly. So what about our prayer? What should our prayer be or not be? With intent. What God is saying is, if you're just sitting here and holding a book and reading words, you might as well just not be here. Don't bring your lamb, don't bring your goat, don't schlep it, don't throw it on the altar and just be like, I did it. Yay, I'm done. Right? Oh, good. I've been here. I held the book, I looked at words, I sat here, now I can go, thankfully. Please, let me go, right? So if you're doing that, this is what Isaiah is saying. I'm so sick and tired, I'm sated with your burnt offerings of rams and your suet of fatlings and blood of the bulls. I have no delight in your lambs and your goats. I could care less about your goats, God says. Do you think God needs a goat? Do you think God needs a goat? No. Why does God have us bring the goats and bring the sheep and bring the pigeons and bring the doves? Why? Exactly. To bring us closer to God, right? Because korban, which is sacrifice, has the word karov in it, which means close. So when you bring your korban, when you bring your bull or your goat, you're bringing yourself closer to God. But if you're just bringing your goat for the fact of just like, check the box, bloop, I'm here, right? This is whole conversation we have in the Jewish in the religious school world about check off Judaism. Like, is there such thing as check off and not check off like the author? Check off Judaism, right? Yeah, like a shopping list. Like, all right, I did it. I came to the synagogue because I needed to. I filled the requirement. I had a bar mitzvah, which isn't even the proper way to say it, right? So I did, right? Check, bye, right? And so this is what Isaiah is screaming. Isaiah is screaming at us. Why are we doing this? Why are you going? Don't go through the motions. Just don't do it. Just don't. I'd rather you not do it than go through the motions. Stop bringing all the fat goats and throwing them onto the fire. Even it says, what a powerful statement. It's in the end of 12, right? It says, who asked that of you, trample my courts no more. What a powerful statement. Like, don't trample on my courts. Don't trample on my holy space, God says, with your lack of intent, your lack of love, your lack of care, your lack of heart. What's that? No? Okay. A little more, please. A little more. Now I think we're on 13.
Bring me no more futile offerings. Incense is an abomination to me. New moon and Sabbath, the calling of assemblies. I cannot endure festivities along with evil. I hate your new moons, your festival days. They are a burden to me. I can bear them no more. When you stretch out your hands, I will avert my eyes from you. However much you pray, I will not listen, while your hands are filled with blood. Wash yourselves, cleanse yourselves, put your evil doings away from my sight. Cease to do evil. Learn to do good. Seek justice. Relieve the oppressed. Uphold the orphan's rights. Take up the widow's cause.
Okay. Yes. Whew.
It's like finally near the end, it's like, okay, now these are what you can do.
Exactly.
It's not all don'ts. This is what you can.
Exactly. So this is why Isaiah is Isaiah. Because first he drives in the knife a little, which is important because we have to know it. Because who else is going to say it to you? Right? Who else is going to say the incredibly uncomfortable sentences to us? Right. Yeah. No, it's interesting, right? Because who else is going to tell you the honest truth other than your family, the people who care about you and love you the most? No one else is going to say, you know what you're doing is wrong, right? It's very hard to say that, but it's easier, quote, because you love someone to say, look, I love you so much, I want to tell you that what you're doing is wrong. So it's the relationship that Isaiah has with God, and that God has with Isaiah, and God has with us, and we have with Isaiah, that makes the connection and why we get the prophets, because it's out of love. It's out of love, even though it doesn't sound like that. Who else is going to tell you what you're doing is wrong? What you're doing is meaningless. Yes. Gail.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he gives us a path, he gives us hope, and he lets us know that we can turn ourselves around.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the job of the prophet, right? The job of the prophet is, this is your job. This is why, by the way, when we're sitting not too far from now on Yom Kippur afternoon, who do we read? What's that guy's name? Jonah. We read Jonah. And Jonah, by the way, if you have not had a chance to really explore Jonah as we get closer to the holidays, explore Jonah. He's the most fascinating prophet of all because he is a reluctant prophet. He doesn't want the prophecy because he's seen what other prophets have to do. And when God comes to talk to him and says, I need you to take care of something, he says, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be the guy that goes into the houses and say, you're terrible and you're terrible and you're terrible. I don't want to be the guy that says all these bad things. No, I don't want to do that. And God says, well, too bad, because it's you. And so that's why if you know the story well, he runs away, right? He runs away, and when he runs away on a ship, and he jumps off the ship, he is in the water, and then he's swallowed by a big fish. It's not a whale. Yes, the text actually says dag gadol, big fish, mistranslated by the Greeks into whale. So it is a big fish. Sorry to ruin all of your story of and all the songs. Jonah, Jonah, living in the big fish. Yeah, it doesn't flow as well into the song. But being a prophet is so challenging because of what you have to do and what you have to say. So there's a reason why we sit on Yom Kippur of the Day of Atonement, when we're supposed to really reflect and we're supposed to really dig as deep as we possibly can, right? To hear Jonah and also know that we're reluctant to do it, right? That I don't want to hear this. I don't want to. I'd rather go on with my life. It's easier for me to just tone it out.
I not only don't want to hear it, I don't want to tell anybody.
Exactly. I definitely don't want to tell anybody. I don't want to be a prophet. I don't want to be the one who comes to the party, right, and says, oh, look at all you fancy people at your party, all the dips that you have and all the fun plates that you have and all the fun food that you have and all the food you're going to throw away and the waste that you make and right? Like no one wants to hear that. You don't want to hear that, particularly at your party. Ian.
Oh, sorry. You can keep going.
No. I'm going to go on forever. I'm a rabbi. I'm going to talk forever. Go. You go, Ian.
I'm just saying, my sister is a community organizer in New York. She works with immigrants' rights, and they actually use Isaiah 17 here to as like a mission statement of sorts. Of look at all the wrongs with the system, look at everything that is wrong, and then we hit 17, and this is the mission statement of of their organization, but also of us as Jews. That like this is why we do it. We see the injustice and we fight. We devote, right? We uphold, we defend, we learn, and those are like the values. That's like a value statement, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's so cool. That's a great statement to use. Isaiah, by the way, is quoted in a million different things because there are a lot of great things that he's going to also say. He has moments of being positive as well. This is just not one of them. But yes. Yes, two-part question.
First, is Isaiah speaking as the Babylonians are breaching the walls, or are they different times?
Yeah. The question is the timing of Isaiah. Where is it actually falling? Yeah, the answer is probably yeah. It's too hard to tell on the timing. It actually says it in your text, and in the way top on the first page. There's a little bit of an explanation. I might give you a little time frame, but it's probably hard to figure out if they're literally sitting there, or if they're reflective, right? Or if they have heard about the breaching, or right? It's hard to say like where they are physically, but it's a great question.
And my second question was, if they're contemporaneous, he's speaking of washing yourselves, cleansing yourselves. Is there any interpretation saying that God allowed the temple to be destroyed as a way to cleanse all this rebellion, to rebuild the second temple as a way to remember? The first one was so destroyed by all this.
It's a great question about does God sort of almost allow the first temple to go for the purpose of its cleansing. I'd like to think not. That would hurt me a little too much personally. But it is a very good question. I would say here's how I'll back out of it as best as I can rabbinically. And I'm going to say, by the way, it's a very good question, is God gives us the free will to make our choices, and because we've made these choices, God has to abide by the free will and sit back and in some instances just let free will be free will without interceding. So how is that for a step away from your very good question? All right, good. I did a little tap dance so I would say I don't like the fact that it's used for the cleansing, but I do think that there are instances where God gives us free will. And the second, right, because we don't like the idea of God controlling us, right? We don't like that we're on strings, right? That some people believe that, by the way. Some people believe that everything that we do in our life is on a string because God is God and controls us. I do not like that. I do like an all-seeing, all-knowing God, meaning I like to know that God might know everything I'm going to say and do. That's fine with me. But that God doesn't make the decision for me to make that statement, right? God can know that I was going to lift that paper because God knows everything. But God didn't make me lift that paper. I lift the paper myself. So whatever good I do or bad I do, I choose on my own, right? God may know what I'm going to do, kind of like a parent a little bit. Like oftentimes, particularly, parents know what their child is going to do, and we have to let them do it sometimes because they learn something. Even though going down the path, your parent might think to themselves, you know what, this is not going to end well, but it's going to be better in the long run that I sit back, clearly if it's not, life-threatening and dangerous, but for a lesson to be learned, a small lesson, to be like, I'm just going to sit back and watch this unravel for a little bit until, right? So that's to continue your excellent question. Yeah. Was there another hand? No? Okay. I'm just imagining it. All right. So, yeah. No, I would say not. I would say a more traditional view of things would be a lot more connected to the strings that God kind of guides us and we follow whatever the strings we're on and that's it. Yeah, that there is that view that, right? But the free will part is also in effect, right? That I believe that once free will is given, we get to make the decisions, very beautifully said and reiterated by Ian in verse 17, right? Learn to do good. Now, you don't have to do good. Nothing says you have to do good, right? It doesn't say it. It says learn to do good. It says devote yourselves to justice. You don't have to do that. You don't have to. It's our choice, right? Uphold the rights of the orphan. You don't have to. The text is just saying you should because it's good. You're being presented with choices. Yes, you're being presented with choices for sure. Yes. So that's I think that's the complicated nature. In a few weeks, we'll be presented with big choices in this. We'll be at the Torah portion called Re'eh, and Re'eh really presents us with choices, right? So, I think that we can leave Isaiah here, particularly in this slightly upbeat section, which is better than the other parts. It's interesting. How does your English translate verse 17? Will you read 17 again?
Learn to do good.
Okay.
Seek justice. Relieve the oppressed. Uphold the orphan's rights. Take up the widow's cause.
Okay. So interesting. So my English says, learn to do good, devote yourselves to justice, aid the wronged, uphold the rights of the orphan, defend the cause of the widow. So it's a little bit of a different translation. And the Hebrew, particularly in that second part of 17, so learn to do good is the same. But then it says, devote yourselves to justice. The Hebrew says, dirshu mishpat, and lidrosh is to like really want. There's no good English for it. So I guess does yours say devote? What does yours say? No. Seek. Similar. Similar. I guess, would you say seek and devote are similar words? No. So it's more devote. I think devote is a stronger word for the Hebrew. So I don't love the word seek. Yeah, I think when you read seek, I was like, don't love the translation, but it's not you. It's Plout. You read it. It's not your fault, it's Plout. Yeah. Ian, yes.
And mishpat is the law, right?
Yes.
Justice, it said it. So this is like a devotion towards the law, but I guess, is it like a double entendre in the fact that the law here is righteousness instead of like necessarily the law of the land?
It's both. I think that's why the Hebrew is so perfect. I mean, I think that's why Isaiah is so good, because the way that the word mishpat is, the way that the word mishpat there is can be justice in that way, but also law in that way. So yeah, devote yourselves to the law or devote yourself to justice is, I guess, has that, I don't know, like a better gravitas to it for me. So, yeah. Could you change? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we could. It doesn't say that, but yes. Yeah. But the text doesn't say that. But yes. But I don't think that's, but I think contextually it's purposeful that it's the orphan and the widow. I think it's particularly in also the time frame, right? Because the widow in that time had nothing, right? So it became the job of the community to take care of the widow because, right? Again, take off your 22 hat, right? The house, the money, everything was that was a dog, right? Okay, good. Okay. That's very clear. How clear is the owl? We hear a dog through the owl. So, yeah.
Isn't mishpat similar to family? And
That's
devoted to family as well?
No, that's mishpacha. Yes.
Okay.
I do like your drash on it, but they're different. It's different. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, sorry. I like it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But I wouldn't, again, don't use your 22 hat on this, right? Don't take off the 22 hat when we discuss this, because I think the orphan and the widow are used here as parts of society that need support, right? Because they can't support themselves. Well, because I think that a widow might be able to or anywhere else. I mean, a widow might. We're not making a presumption about a widow in 22, right? I mean, there's pain and anguish, but the power of a woman in 22, or a man or a woman, right? Who's a widow, might be very different in 22 than it might be in a biblical sense, right? Because also this widow, by the way, is speaking of a woman in the text, right? A widow today could be a widow who's a male or right? The concept of someone who loses their spouse, right? But this is clearly in this section, the orphan and the woman are in the biblical category, less than the persona than we're thinking of. Right. So that's why we don't use the 22 hat, right? Because we're in a different place, right? So yes. So as we transition now out of Torah study, I hope that everyone not only has a meaningful Shabbat, but yeah, please, Bob.
Rabbi, what I like about these sessions is they metaphorically relate in many cases to what is going on in the current world.
Yeah.
Would you just maybe to read
You want to read? Sure, please, go ahead.
In the preamble, it says, this is the circumstances. Idolatry was rampant. Upper classes lived in ostentatious luxury, and the God of the covenant was over, forgotten by large masses of people. That's number 3. And then down, a commentary, number 5. Samaria has fallen. Israelites of the northern kingdom have been exiled, and parts of Judah too have been devastated, and yet all this has made no difference. People go on as if nothing needs to change. And then on the facing page, 11 through 17, a ringing denunciation of hypocritical religion and sacrifice and prayer are not accompanied by righteous living and pure intent. They are abhorrent to God. The prophet's language is instructive. He uses the central terms of ritual to reject insincere observance. There's so much in here.
So much in there. So much in there. That was beautiful. That was, yeah, thank you for weaving that together. That was amazing. That I think that's ultimately the goal of what this is saying, is that insincere observance, that right? Is that I think it's even just talking about insincerity about, right? It's a word I think that gets misused a little bit now, but it was really good about a few years ago, and now I hear it a lot, which is about intentionality, right? Just intentionality in anything, right? I mean, clearly we're sitting here on Shabbat, and so we talk about our intentionality of what it means to devote ourselves Jewishly, clearly. But intentionality in general is such a beautiful and dangerous double-edged sword, because you never know anyone's intentionality, right? Good or bad. What they do or say, what their intention is, might be for the good or for the bad. And so the sincerity of intentionality, I think is important for us, and that's why we get the concept of kavanah, right? Because kavanah is the Hebrew word for intentionality, but nothing says it better than the word kavanah. Like kavanah is because in the word kavanah is the word kivun, and kivun is your direction, meaning the way that you're headed. And so your kavanah has to do with your, like, really your path also. Like, where are you headed? What are you doing in your life? So it carries this beautiful weight. Yeah? They're different. Yeah, yeah. Because the covenant is more of a brit in Hebrew. Yeah. So, but you mean English in the English sense? I don't know. That's a great question. That one I don't know. You know where I looked that up? Rabbi Google. That's where I looked that up. Yeah. Rabbi Keller doesn't know that answer, but Rabbi Google might know that answer. It's a feeling. Yeah. It's a feeling. Yeah. It's a feeling. It's knowing that what you're doing has meaning, right? That's what kavanah is, as opposed to throwing the sacrifice onto the thing. So on the Shabbat, not only do I wish us a nice Shabbat, but also as we transition from Shabbat into the 9th of Av at sundown, again, whether we decide to read about it, study it, look at the Book of Lamentations, reread Isaiah, fast a little, do any of that, I hope it's a meaningful time that does have lots of kavanah for all of us. So thank you, as usual, for a really excellent conversation. We hear the ancient sounds of the Velcro opening in the background. We're going to flip back away from Isaiah back to Devarim, to the Torah portion. Are you going from the beginning?
From the beginning.
Robin, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes. Great. Sure. Sure. I'm going to put this up like this so we can see you. Okay, it's Bat David. Okay, Ta'amod, Malka Bat David. We can be on 250 if you want in the Siddur, if you want in your prayer book for the Aliyah blessings. Okay. 250.
Baruch Adonai, Baruch Hu Adonai HaBarach,
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Leolam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher Bachar Banu B'Kol Ha'amim, V'natan Lanu Et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ele hadvarim asher diber Moshe el kol Yisrael be'ever hayarden bamidbar ba'arava molsuf ben Paron uvein Tofel v'Lavan v'Chatzerot v'Dizahav Achad Asar Yom Mechorev Derech Har Seir Ad Kadesh Barnea Vayhi Barbaim Shana Ba'as Te'asar Chodesh Be'echad LaChodesh Diber Moshe El Bnei Yisrael Kechol Asher Tziva Adonai Oto Alehem.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher Natan Lanu Torot Amet, V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu, Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. You too. Thank you. Walk down super carefully. Okay.
Still amidst our Torah service, we think of those in our community who are in need of healing, a physical, emotional, or spiritual healing. If you are thinking of someone and you would like to share their name, please share their name at this time.
Mark Davis, George family, Stu Truman, Lawrence Mace, and Tankos, all those affected by the rockets in Israel, the war in Ukraine, violence, and hate crimes.
My sister Gay Taylor.
Leah Bartis, Esther Bartis, Mary Bartis, Judy Levine, Rizkataya Bartlea, Oni Bartley, Leah, Sandy and Andrews, Beth Rapide, Carmelo Batsara Badov, Harry Pearson, Kath, Yosef, and then
Mishabach can be found on page 253. Mishabach Avotenu v'Imotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah hu barech et hacholim HaKadosh Baruch Hu ימלא רחמים עליהם להחלימם ולרפאותם ולהחזיקם וישלח למהרה רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, השתה בגלה בזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Becca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the blessed Holy One be filled with compassion, for their health be restored and their strength be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, as together we say, Amen. We conclude our Torah service on page 256.
Chag tov natati lachem Torati al ta'azovu et chaim hi lamachazikim ba v'tomcheha meushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol nativoteha shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem.
Our announcements are that Rabbi Silvers will be doing a 3-part adult learning series on, I think, Jewish food. It's coming up soon. It's coming up in August. So if you have not registered already, I think a bunch of people have registered for the course already. So if you have not yet, please register. I think there's information about it in the flyers in the back. There's a bunch of information, by the way, on all the flyers in the back. There's some Brotherhood events coming up. Also, we're going to Israel in June, so you're welcome to join us on our Israel trip. We already have people registered for our Israel trip, so that's exciting. Woohoo! That's really great. If you know, by the way, anyone who is a teen and who would like to go to Israel on the teen trip, we're also having a teen trip in the summer. So please pass that along. What else? On the 26th, is that a Friday? I don't know. Whatever the 26th is. If it's a Friday, then that is the beginning of our back to shul weekend. So that'll be on Friday night. It'll be our first switch from the chapel Friday night into the sanctuary. We're going to the sanctuary, which also means that we switch back to 8:30. We have to go back to 8:30 over this. Sorry, friends. So, what's it? We are not switching time on Friday night service, but they're going to be b'nai mitzvah that are starting back up. So I know. Yeah, I know. It's I don't know if it's doable, but we can. At the moment, we're switching to 8:30. So we'll see if we can change that. But so that'll be changing. And then that Sunday, by the way, is our food truck frenzy. So please join us that Sunday, the 28th. I guess that would be then for lots of food trucks and lots of fun activities and water play for kids. And unless you want to do water play, you're welcome to do that also. That's you can run around in the water play stuff. No judgment. No judgment. So if you want to do that, Jay, if you're interested, psychologists will be on hand. But yes. So for photographers and psychologists to help you, but you're welcome. It doesn't specify the age group for the water play. So but I will be in. Yeah, it's so funny. I'm a Floridian. I don't really like water. Like I don't like pools. I don't like that stuff. Very much not the ocean. Even like pool a little bit, but I like the ocean to like walk. Like I'll walk on the beach. I appreciate the ocean, but I have no desire to go into that thing ever. I have no desire to go into it. I have never have. I'm a Floridian. I have no. Right, exactly. And they were walking. I was fine. The water was on the sides. God was holding the water. I would have been fine with that. It was fine.
Somebody have to jump in first.
Nachshon? Well, I'm not named Nachshon. I'm not Nachshon. I'm Keller. It doesn't work. His name was Nachshon ben Aminadav. I'm not that guy. So I don't like the water. So and I have a pool and whatever. And I still I think I've been in my pool. We lived in Florida. I mean, I'm from Florida, but we lived in my house for like 6 years. I think I've been in my pool 5 times. So I think I don't like it. It's a lovely pool. It's a little pool. My kids love it. but it's fine. Okay, enough of me speaking about my water, my aversion to water. I think it's very pretty. I do once a month. Once a month. Yes. No, I don't know. I've been in the mikvah. I actually probably been in the mikvah more than I've been in a pool or the beach. But again, I love the beach. Like I'll go for a walk on the beach. I'll even go like a beach vacation. But I just won't go in to it because it's, I don't know.
Fair enough. Please don't tell us what's in it. I don't want to think of it.
Yeah, exactly. I've never gone scuba diving. That freaks me out. I don't know. I've been skydiving, by the way. Like I've been skydiving, which is amazing. 13,000 feet. But don't make me go into the water. Okay, let's begin to conclude our service with Aleinu 282. Together we stand.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liyotzeh bereshit, shelo asanu kagoye haratzot, velo samanu kamishbechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gohor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad.
We transition our thoughts to Kaddish Yatom in a moment, to Mourner's Kaddish, and we think of the list I didn't bring with me. Okay, so if took the wrong list. All right, so if there is a name that you are thinking of, please share their name at this time. $294. Yitgadal v'yikadash shmei Rabbah ve'almad yivrach chirutei ve'amlich malchutei v'chaye echon v'yom echon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei olmaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'a v'yitomam v'yitnaseh ויתהדה ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשה בריחו לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן ועלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה אבא מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, as together we say, Amen. Please be seated. We end our service this morning with, yes. I think in light of our transition into the 9th of Av, we are going to end it a little more in a more thoughtful and somber end to our Shabbat, and with the words of Eli, Eli, which are actually in here.
They are in the 300s.
They are.
Somewhere.
They are. So let me find it quickly for us. Eli, Eli is definitely in here. I know it is. Where is it? It's Eli, Eli. Where is it? 349. Thank you. 349. 349.
Eli, שלא ייגמר לעולם. החול והים, רשרוש של המים, ברק השמיים, תפילת האדם. החול והים, רשרוש של המים, ברק השמיים, תפילת האדם. Oh God, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
Adonai oz lamo iten, Adonai varech et amo v'shalom. May God give strength unto our people, continue to bless us with hope and strength and love and peace to all. Special thanks to you, Robin. Thank you for being here with us on this Shabbat. And Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.